Peace, peace, my peaceful people. What's good? It's your brother Man Sanu. We are back. I know some of y'all been waiting, not a whole bunch, but some of y'all been waiting for this I Ching thing to get back in the swing. And so here we go. Alright, not a whole lot of extra talking. We got things to do. Alright. So we are at hexagram number 10. Okay. Hexagram 10 is the hexagram of conduct. Conduct. Okay, so another way to say conduct, or another way to refer to this hexagram is also treading. Right? Treading. So let's get into the text to see what we're talking about. Alright, this is transcripts from the I Ching Transcripts, Harlem River Arrangement, Nefer. Alright, so here we go. Okay, let's go to a very difficult hexagram, the 10th hexagram. It is a very complex hexagram. There are many elements involved in the meaning of this hexagram. To the text. The meaning of the hexagram means one who, on the one hand, means, right back, it's been a minute. All right, here we go. The name of the hexagram, on one hand, means on one hand the right way of conducting oneself. Heaven, the Father, is above, and the lake, the youngest daughter, is below. This shows the difference between the high and the low, upon which composure, correct social conduct, depends. To Hexagram speaking. Here there are roles, the high and the low. Oftentimes, when you get this hexagram, the people that are being inquired about must also first determine their role. There is high and low. Your role in society, or your role in a situation or relationship, your position, is very important to the proper comprehension of this hexagram. That is on one hand. To the text. On the other hand, the word for the name of the hexagram, treading, lu, means literally treading upon something. The small and cheerful, tui, treads upon the large and strong, chien. The direction of movement of the two primary hexagrams is upward. The fact that the strong treads on the weak is not mentioned in the Book of Changes because it is taken for granted. For the weak to take a stand against the strong is not dangerous here, because it happens in good humor, tui, and without presumption, so that the strong man is not irritated but takes it all in good part. To Hexagram. What the oracles is saying here is that in most cases when you get this hexagram, it is talking about two parties, the strong and the weak. Because here we have the conduct between the elder and the younger, the stronger and the weaker. Here we have a picture of a man who treads upon the tail of a tiger, and in most cases the tiger would not bite. In most cases the tiger would not bite. Within the context of this hexagram. Don't be going out there stepping on those tails of those tigers. Alright, we have a picture of a young person, Tui, who goes and imitates the superior man. But in most cases, then the oracle counsels him not to be imitative or worried about it. Imitative or worried about it, because the nature of the situation is such that if he exercises meneb in the situation, that is the way you will get the weak to behave itself. Meneb is kind of like, the ignoring of negative emotions and reactions and things like that. Meneb is when you really address the lower aspects of your person, the emotionalism and things like that, through the higher, right? You come and you put the hand on, and you don't do what it is that you were going to do had you not been on your minute, right? Okay, so then we come to the end of, alright, this is cut off, y'all, so y'all remember how I go with this book. We come to the emblem of how the strong or the person who is being harried by the Tui element must conduct itself to make the situation succeed. Oftentimes you approach the situation where you want to accomplish, where what you want to accomplish is a selfish type of success. What the oracles want here is to find the matter, is to something the matter in such a way, find amend, I don't know, the matter in such a way that friendship is what comes out of the situation. Wherever there is conflict between you and someone, most of you have not arrived at the point in spiritual growth where you are seeking to come out as friends. You want to come out victorious, regardless of what happens to that particular friendship between you and whoever else. So all counsels of the oracles, wherever it is possible, is so that friendship will come out of it. That is not always possible. Pardon me. The oracles will indicate when it is not possible, as in the 7th hexagram, where it says, pay off the inferior person with money and send them home. It is not saying don't be friendly. It is saying don't give them positions of rank. That may cause enmity, but that is the way to persevere what is of greater value, or to preserve. To preserve what is of greater value. Hear the counsel of the hear the counsel to the harried and the harrier. The harried and the harrier. All right. It is very important to determine which is your role. Are you the harried or the person who is worrying the other person? To the text, the judgment. The situation is really difficult. That which is strongest and that which is weakest are close together. The weak follows behind the strong and worries it. The strong, however, acquiesces and does not hurt the weak, because the contact is in good humor and harmless. In terms of human situation, one is handling wild, intractable people. In such a case, right? In such a case, one's purpose will be achieved if one behaves with decorum. Okay, to check my journal. Menab means ignoring or ignores the warrior. The warrior, the one who is worrying him, the one who is following behind, talking stuff, right? To the text. Pleasant manners succeed even with irritable people. The image, heaven above, the lake below. The image of treading. Thus the superior man discriminates between high and low and thereby fortifies the thinking of the people. 2 shekel shekel. Here again the superior man is told how to deal, how his conduct has to be with inferior people to fortify their thinking. First line. Alright, we're in the first line. First line. Simple conduct. Progress is without blame. The situation is one in which we are still not bound by any obligations of social intercourse. To shekel shekel. Meaning that we have not yet we have not yet come into any kind of close-knit relationship of one set or another. The juice of this line we find in the middle way of the second paragraph. To the text. When a man is dissatisfied with modest circumstances, he is restless and ambitious and tries to advance, not for the sake of accomplishing anything worthwhile, but merely in order to escape from lowliness and poverty by dint of his conduct. Okay, I'll run that back. When a man is dissatisfied with modest circumstances, he is restless and ambitious and tries to advance, not for the sake of accomplishing anything worthwhile, but merely in order to escape from lowliness and poverty by dint of his conduct. Meaning to escape from boredom or whatever. The text. Once his purpose is achieved, he is certain to become arrogant and luxury-loving. Therefore, blame attaches to his progress. On the other hand, and man who is good at his work is content to behave simply. He wishes to make progress in order to accomplish something. When he attains his goal, he does something worthwhile, and all is well. SUS. Here, the oracle is saying, do not seek to make progress because you are bored, because what you have here at work is the Twee trigram. Here, one's conduct is incorrect. This is counsel to the harrier, the person who goes about worrying the superior man. Okay? I'm going to run that back. Here the oracle is saying, do not seek to make progress because you are bored, because what you have at work here is the Twee hexagram, the Twee trigram. Here one's conduct is incorrect. This is counsel to the harrier, the person who goes about worrying the superior man. R. Line 2. Text. Treading a smooth, level course. The perseverance of a dark man brings good fortune. The situation of a lonely sage is indicated here. He remains withdrawn from the bustle of life, seeks nothing and asks nothing of anyone, and is not dazzled by enticing goals. He is true to himself and travels through life unassailed on a level road. Since he is content and does not challenge fate, he remains free of entanglements. SUS. Let's go to the astrology of the I Ching for additional information or supplementation, because that information is weak. That's the scrolls, right? My scrolls, the astrology of the I Ching, right? Well, I might as well not even show it to you because the real book doesn't look like that. Or the regular book doesn't look like my book. But just so y'all know who y'all know when I refer to the scrolls, he's going to the scrolls. All right. Line 2. The path trodden here is higher and more noble than that trodden in line 1. The man is more introspective, desirous of accomplishing major goals, and inclined to keep his deepest thoughts to himself. He should, in parentheses, know the golden mean, and for the most part should follow it. His goals must be firm, and he will not let himself become confused. These persons are somewhat unusual in that they are quite self-sufficient men of peace, doing whatever is set before them for the benefit of others. SUS. Everything is supposed to be should. Okay? Everything is supposed to be should. Okay? Okay, so he's saying like, right. Yeah, y'all get it. I've said it before. You'll find that Wilhelm has the proper phrasing. Okay. So he goes back to the text and it's still Shu and Shirel. Most auspicious, he will be deeply interested in mental and spiritual matters and will follow the way of Tao. He will only be ambitious to a limited degree, but persistent in completing whatever he begins. He will not seek unattainable fame and honors, and will find much happiness in contemplating and being surrounded by nature. He will achieve peace of mind. SUS. This line here is sage-like behavior. Not the lonely sage, but sage-like behavior in the sense that you are not allowing twee externals, the pleasures that life offers, your prefers to dictate your action. And I have highlighted this here part, right, and especially the next part. But to do that, you have to think deeply. You have to go within and analyze the situation. Okay, so that's key. Which is what Chu and Shirel in the astrology I Ching is trying to tell you. For example, let's look at the yearly hexagram of the officer or official. Officer or official. He may be assigned to an easy position or retire with honor. Business and professional. Destiny will be seemingly inactive. Ordinary people. He will be content and will enjoy peace and harmony. Communicating and cooperating with the right people may bring him gains. The least auspicious may die. SUS. Suppose your question has to do with someone who is ill. Again, this correspondence might apply. All I'm saying is that once you learn to regulate Chu and Shirel through the Wilhelm, you will find it a very useful book. for the business and professional, when you get this line, destiny will seemingly be inactive, meaning that ain't not much jumping from outside. That will help you make a better business decision than just the Wilhelm alone. I want you to understand that. Take example of how to use the book. There's a lot of information, and I can't give you point for point everything in the book. All I can do is teach you how to use the book. Okay. Third line, Wilhelm. A one-eyed man is able to see. A lame man is able to tread. He treads on the tail of the tiger. The tiger bites the man. Misfortune. Thus does a warrior act on behalf of the great prince, or his great prince. A one-eyed man can indeed see, but not not enough for clear vision. A lame man can indeed tread, but not enough to make progress. If, in despite of such defects, a man considers himself strong and consequently exposes himself to danger, he is inviting disaster, for he is undertaking something beyond his strength, SUS, or beyond his capacity to see or carry out, etc. To the text. The reckless way of plunging ahead, regardless of the adequacy of one's powers, can be justified only in the case of a warrior battling for his prince. Here we have a situation where at the last sentence, Wilhelm seems to contradict himself, meaning that there are certain times when you may have to carry on a particular struggle, even though you may not see everything that is going on, or be able to carry things out in to its final conclusion when you are battling for your prince. R. To Chu and Churel text, right, to the scrolls. The one-eyed man thinks he can see. The lame man thinks he can walk. Right? He treads on the tiger he treads on the tail of the tiger and is bitten. Disaster. Right? So this is the same line in the Chu and Churel book. The warrior thinks he battles on behalf of the Lord. Right? So these, when I say thinks he, is in parentheses. Like this is what you should be including in text in your consideration of the text. Okay. SUS. Here we have a difference of opinion. Back to the text. Here is a weak person using strength beyond his capacity, with dangerous results. A one-eyed man can see, but his perceptions are imperfect. A lame man can walk, but not fast enough to make progress with others. This line is in a position of strength, so bravado and brashness are implied. When meeting hazardous conditions, one does not overcome them properly through such behavior, and disaster results. One should act in such a manner only when one is fighting for one's Lord. Persons born under this line are likely to have little knowledge or experience, but use great strength and drive. SUS. Here what we have is that for what you are seeking to do, unless your motives are clear, your reasons are clear, unless you are trying to do it, unless what you are trying to do is justified, then you must desist. Okay? But if there is justification for what you want to do, the fact may be that you may have all the facts in, the fact that you may not be able to carry the matter successfully or effectively to conclusion, the oracle is saying then you are blameless. Right? So you might, have to do something. So if you fail, then you're blameless, or you're blameless for attempting. Whereas if that is not the case, right, then like you don't have clear reasons, right? Your motives are weird and things like this, then just stop, because you're not justified in going further. If not, you will get bit, right? The situation will be detrimental to you instead of beneficial. All right, it is not necessarily that you cannot see. Maybe you did not have all the facts. You may not have all the means to carry something out, meaning that you can't tread or are treading on only one foot. That's what it means here. Whether we act or not depends on what our goal is. Is the goal correct? Are you justified in your goals? Even though the tiger may bite you, because what are we talking about? Okay, he asked the question. The line talks about where conduct is being good or bad according to what? The motive. Bing. This line talks about, marker, right? Or, make some type of notation. Right? Like y'all reading along. If you are reading along, right? This line talks about where conduct is being good or bad according to what? Motive. Right? Conduct good or bad according to motive. Two persons will do the same thing. One person's actions will be incorrect and the other person's actions will be correct, even though they both have done the same thing. What makes the difference? The motive or the reason, the goal, the justification for the action. Of course, if you get this reading, you may have to go to the oracles again to comment on the reasons or motives. The I Ching does not end with you having great insight into each hexagram and line. Run that back. The I Ching does not end with you having great insight into each hexagram and line. The I Ching ends when you have mastered the art of querying the oracles. And you cannot write down all the rules for that. You may make suggestions. Only the man of wisdom will know exactly what questions to ask in a given situation. That's why the I Ching or any oracle will always be a tool of the sage. Okay. To the text. He's in the True and Sherelle, and he goes, officer and official. Right? This is for the officer and official. Demotion in rank, position, or salary is likely. Business and professional. He may suffer a loss of reputation, accompanied by a decrease in profit. Ordinary people. There will be disputes and lawsuits. He may be incarcerated, ruin his family, or die. SUS. It speaks about heavy losses, but again, when you get into the meaning of the line itself, it is something that you ought not to incur, and you may have to incur. Alright? But again, when you get into the meaning of the line itself, it is something that you ought not to incur, or you may have to incur. You have to understand that not always when you go to the oracles and find the answer to a situation where you will come out unscathed. Alright? Okay? So yeah, sometimes you gotta do what you got to do. Even if you know it's gonna be rough. You know what I mean? Hold tight to your sword and your shield and go in the battle. That's what it is. Alright, line 4. He treads on the tail of the tiger. Prudence is required. Good fortune in the end. Self-reliance, self-confidence, and good judgment are indicated here. These are founded on knowledge, common sense, and experience. This man ought to know where he's going. I think the text says this man will know where he's going. So he says this man ought to know where he's going and is sure of himself that he will get there. With this controlling line in this position, he should not forge ahead rashly or act impetuously, but rather proceed steadily and with caution. He will meet many a difficult situation which he will overcome, and in the end, he will have good fortune. All right, let's look at Wilhelm. 4th line. He treads on the tail of the tiger. Caution, circumspection lead ultimately to good fortune. SUS. You have a dangerous enterprise here. Back to the text. The inner power to carry it through is there. But this inner power is combined with hesitating, caution in one's external attitude. This line contrasts with the preceding line, which is weak within, but outwardly presses forward. Here, one is sure of ultimate success, which consists in achieving one's purpose, that is, in overcoming danger by going forward. SUS. The inner strength of this line is ritual. In the preceding line, which is line 3, one attempts the enterprise without performing any ritual. And the line says, if you do not do the ritual, things do not further. Here we have basically the same situation in life in line 4. The question is, where is the man in the line 4 regarding his power? The question is, where is the man in line 4 regarding his power? If you got this line here, it doesn't mean that you will succeed. You have to do something. Always in this hexagram, you have to do something to make it happen. Line 4 is the line of the minister, the priest, who does the sacrifice. Okay, so hence ritual. You'll find that many times the line 4s throughout this I Ching will be associated in some way, some level of occult, some level of priest, some level of ritual is going down at line 4, or within the individual at line 4. Okay, line 5, Wilhelm. Resolute conduct. Perseverance with awareness of danger. This refers to the rule of the hexagram as a whole. One sees that one has to be resolute in conduct, but at the same time, one must remain conscious of the danger connected with such resoluteness, especially if it is to be persevered in. Only awareness of the danger makes success possible. SUS. Here we are, and this is highlight. Here we are dealing with a dangerous situation, and you must resolve to deal with it. But you must proceed, always keeping in mind that there is danger at hand. When you get the 5th line, whatever you're doing, never lose sight of the fact that there are dangers around you. Whatever you're doing, you could fail or you could fall in those habits. Okay? Right? Failure is not always walking one step behind you. So be careful. I'm sorry. Run it back. Failure is always walking one step behind you. So be careful at all times. Don't relax. At any stage, you can't relax. Okay? That's the 5th line. The 5th line is you got to go forward. You got to do what it is that you got to do. It's a circumstance you can't go around in any way. You have to go forward. You're at the job, or you are going for a job. Like say you're at the last money that you have and you have to take this job. It's something that's dangerous, but you have to go forward. Or something that's not what you want, right? Something's wrong with the circumstance, but you got to go forward, period. That's not the best example, but I can't think of the best example right now. All right, top line. Text. Not sure if this is Wilhelm or the other guy. All right, look at your conduct and weigh the favorable signs. When everything is fulfilled, supreme good fortune comes. This is the top line. Look at your conduct and weigh the favorable signs. When everything is fulfilled, supreme good fortune. I love the way that this being the line of the sage, the top line, right? This is like, this is like a wisdom, like a very wise way of approaching this thing. It's like, it's trying to show you you see the difference in the lines. Here, your conduct is like, let me contemplate this. Like, this is the sage talking, right? This is the sage doing what he doing in that 6th line, right? SUS. When you get this line, the oracle is throwing the cones at you now. It is saying, consult your own head. The oracle is saying, you ought to know the answer to that question. Are the results good? Are you happy? Is your life unobstructed? Or are there still obstructions? You ought to know. Oftentimes the oracle will give you the answer. Sometimes the oracle will get you to the point where it just gives you a hint on how to find the answer. That's why this thing is living. That's why, see, this is the confirmation of God. That's why I always, this is where I'm going when I'm talking about, various things about using the oracle to prove God, right? It works with you in terms of helping you to develop. You know what I mean? It's like, did I get it? You get this line. It's like, I don't know. Did you get it? You know what I'm saying? So, all right. Okay, so, all right. If you look at the hexagram very carefully, you will find that in some lines, the image of walking across the tiger comes through. Sometimes it doesn't. You'll find that in other hexagrams, hexagrams that might, run it back. You'll find that many other hexagrams that might deal more with your conduct than this hexagram itself. Again, I want you to understand that there are problems with the way many of these hexagrams are translated and presented. The hexagrams, though, have to do a great deal with situations, and in understanding every hexagram, you also have to take a good look at the situation. Okay? You will notice that every hexagram has a positive and a negative expression, a good path and a bad path. Whenever you get a hexagram straight up, you have to dig into the judgment and the image and find what is happening, what the oracle is trying to tell you. Whenever the hexagram is the second hexagram in the reading, for example, suppose the 10th hexagram was the second hexagram and Chien is the first hexagram. Line 3 is stress. Line 3 in the first hexagram says to the text, all day the superior man is creatively active. At night his mind is still beset with cares. Danger, no blame. SUS. Here is somebody who is working day in and day out, not resting when they ought to rest. Things are popping up, jumping, and this kicks over into the 10th hexagram. So here the person's conduct is questionable in terms of this person's health. The tiger that you are courting is ill health. You're stepping on the tail of the tiger, right? Regarding your health. That's me right now. But I'm super healthy though. So this ain't about me. This ain't about me, alright? And the tiger may bite you. Alright. So let's go to the oracles and get the 61st hexagram. The 4th line stress, it changes into the 10th. The 4th line at the 61st hexagram says to the text, the moon is full, the team horse goes astray, no blame. To intensify the power of inner truth, a man must always turn to his superior from whom he can receive enlightenment as the moon receives light from the sun. However, this requires a certain humility like that of the moon when it is not yet quite full. At the moment when the moon becomes full, it stands directly opposite the sun. It begins to wane. SUS. Basically, we have here how a person deals with his or her superior. The 4th line in the 61st hexagram speaks of problems in the way the inferior treats the superior and incurs difficulties. Alright? Remember that. Y'all really studying, y'all got a book somewhere, y'all taking notes. Note that, right? We'll get to the 64th hexagram sometime later on, right? but you can take the note, right? The 4th line in the 61st hexagrams speaks of problems in the way that the inferior treats a superior and incurs difficulties. If they should err, there is not that much blame. But still, the oracle questions the conduct of the inferior towards the superior because it changes over into the 10th hexagram. What we are talking about is that the 2nd hexagram is defined very much by the stress line of the 1st hexagram. If the stress line is auspicious, then we can take the auspicious side of the 2nd hexagram and so on. So here the conduct of the inferior towards the superior is in question because it is defined that way by the 4th line of the 61st. So here the conduct of the inferior towards the superior is in question because it is defined that way by the 4th line of the 61st hexagram. all right, which is a negative line, right, going into conduct, right? Second hexagram. Okay, so I'm saying that each hexagram has a positive and negative manifestation. Which do you take? When you get this line stressed, you always get direction as to whether the positive or negative side is being stressed. Sometimes you get a mixture of the two, but when you get the hexagram straight up, then there's always a question of what is happening here. Is it the positive or the negative side of the hexagram? When the hexagram is the second hexagram on a reading, what will determine the negative side, the negative of positive side, little typo, of the hexagram depends on the stressed lines of the first hexagram. I'll run that back. When the hexagram is the second hexagram on a reading, what will determine the negative or positive side of the hexagram depends on the stress lines of the first hexagram. Of course, it becomes more difficult when the first hexagram has negative and positive stress lines. I can't give you the rules because the situation that you are inquiring about has a great deal of effect on this. Right? The I Ching itself, the I Ching, as I said, is the tool of sages. In the Yoruba and Akan traditions, men and women who are diviners were people who are also initiates into the shrine of the God of wisdom. They cultivated certain rituals, which in the Hindu tradition is called dhyana yoga, the yoga or type of rituals that increases one's wisdom, one's ability, one's mental powers. We are socializing the I Ching because we are in that time in history where the oracles have to become a part of the people once again. Because right now, many religions have maligned the oracles. Many cultures have taken the oracles and created out of them fortune-telling devices and made them fall into ill repute. So the oracle is not fulfilling its duty to man, and mankind is falling down a path of perdition because of this. The only thing that will save mankind is to return to the oracles once again. But who is going to return them back? Not the intellectuals. They can't do it. But enough enlightened people, such as yourselves, using the oracles. I know some of you don't use it. And some of you use it bordering on confusion. This is true, but you are the only ones who will restore your oracles back to where it is supposed to be. Because once there is enough comprehension and enough proper use by a handful of people, then there will be a positive request for the reinstatement of oracles into society of men again. This is why we teach you the oracles. But I am just giving you a precaution to keep yourself comfortable at using the oracles. Because there are many people who take the oracles and proclaim themselves masters. They set themselves up as readers and charge all kinds of money for it. And they can't even get their own lives in order. Do you understand what I'm talking about? End lecture here. All right. Yeah. So, big statements about bringing back the oracle to society or into society as a useful tool, the useful tool that it is. So, yeah. 10th hexagram, conduct. Right? Good stuff. I think this is, ultimately what you get from this hexagram has to do, again, with the positions of the people, right? Who are you in the circumstance and what the various steps mean for you versus the other individual, right, who is of a different rank type of thing, right? Yeah, so that's it, right? Thank you all for giving a like, for commenting, for subscribing, right? Definitely those things help things to flow around here. Y'all know I need some help, so help me out. All right. Peace and love, y'all. We will see y'all next time.